Everybody ready? Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right. Welcome to Columbia Township. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Present.
Mr. Kubicki?
Present.
Ms. Hughes?
Present.
All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next, I make a motion to approve the signing of the meeting minutes, the regular meeting minutes of February 8th, 2022. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
And next, we move into open forum. We have anybody signed in?
Yes, and I don't have the sign sheet, so tell me your name, please. I'm sorry.
Cindy Irwin.
Thank you, Cindy. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to follow up.
If you do me a favor, just state your address.
6813 Bramble.
Okay.
Don't come after me.
Okay, go. Just we want to put it in where you are in the township.
I just wanted to see where you guys were on the parking. The parking situation is so bad. So bad. People park and they block driveways, and the old man across the street can't get out.
And this is on Bramble.
Yes, and when we've had to go searching in the bar, in the coffee shop, for whoever owns the car.
The park's in front of your driveway.
Not in front of my driveway, because this sounds awful, but we sit out there, make sure that nobody blocks it. Because it's hard to find who drives the car.
So people are parking, too many people are parking on Bramble and sometimes parking and blocking. I'm just curious. I'm going to ask you this since we have a limited crowd tonight. What do you suggest we do about the parking?
Well, when they could park in those parking lots, it was great.
You're talking about the human performance and the church lot.
And the one that was next to
Ludwig.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll only take inventory of that because I do think there's definitely a parking problem that needs to be addressed in Madison Place, and we look at the comprehensive master plan. It's certainly going to be on my ideas of making sure that we preserve the concept of addressing the parking. So
It's just bad because we have 3 cars at our house, and the driveway is really small. So my daughter has a little car, and it fits in there. But my husband and my husband's handicapped, so sometimes we park blocks down the street.
That's terrible.
And especially with summer coming, it's going to be even worse. Last summer was terrible.
So, but as it relates to the parking problem, what is it I'm just trying to understand, what exactly would you like to see Columbia Township do? If we could wave a magic wand and fix the problem on Bramble for the parking, what would you suggest that we might be able to do? Like, what would be your ideas? You live there.
I do have an idea, actually.
That's what I want to hear.
To help.
What's that?
To help it a little.
Go ahead.
If they could paint lines, like paint a spot, because people pull up and where you can normally fit 2 cars, they park 1 car there.
Yeah.
And then so that's a lost space. And then also, Grace, they park on both sides all the way down. Why can't they park there at the gym? Because that's even wider than Grace. So people do park there. They don't get tickets there, but they do park there, but it says no parking there.
Got it. And I don't know how the lines work, and certainly you see anywhere you park when you go parallel park that sometimes cars are too close to so I don't know how to address that without talking to a traffic engineer, but I was just curious because, I mean, parking in Madison Place is tricky, and then you combine that with, if we look to go address the problem, what we could do, and just something I need to take inventory of.
We've been watching those 2 parking lots, and they're reserved for that place down in Bramble, Lower Bram, and nobody parks in those lots.
You're talking about again, we're going back to the church and the fitness place.
Ludwig.
Yes.
And Ludwig. They're all privately owned lots.
That's what I mean.
They're privately
Yeah.
owned
The
lots.
fitness place rents it out to another business.
Correct, but it's still they're privately owned lots,
Yes.
so we really don't have much control
Right.
over. Only thing we could do is try to create a parking lot, and that just, there's some
We've tried.
challenging, that's why
Yeah.
I'm taking inventory of this. That said, I suppose we could look into the logistics, and I mean this tacitly, of striping. I mean, because you don't see that in many neighborhoods, and I don't know what the goods and bads are, and so I will look into it just probably by Google. I'll start with, and then talk to a traffic engineer or a road engineer as far as how much that does, what the good side of it is and the bad side of it is. So, interesting idea. I don't have an answer for it right now, but we will take a look at that. And as far as the future parking, I just think it's something we need to take inventory of. So I appreciate you coming and appreciate you saying what you had to say. And
Well, I didn't know where you guys were on that best rings, that empty auto body place, I guess it is.
Yeah.
what were we talking about?
We've tried for 2 years.
So I will add that even before me, and the township has, over the past couple of years, researched and investigated private businesses that might be willing to let us either purchase it for parking
Or lease.
or lease it for parking. At this point, we have no willing sellers. We would be interested in that. And we know that, unfortunately, parking is not going to get any less crowded there, given lots of other development and positive parts of this. Is the negative aspect of the neighborhood. And, we've talked about this before. Can you add anything to that?
So we have approached all owners of properties that are vacant or not being fully utilized and asked to purchase or lease them for public parking, and received no's on all of them. Before me and before Brian, but to remind David and Susan, under Mike Lemon, he conducted a full Madison Place parking study. And of the recommendations, I've read through it a number of times, of the recommendations for purchasing some of the homes, like a couple of homes at different locations on the streets, and putting like small parking spaces there, as well as some other recommendations. My understanding from him is that when he did community engagement with the neighborhood said, no, don't bother, do not, we see this as an imposition on us. Everybody tells me that they have, for the most part, worked out with their neighbors who parks where, and everybody generally respects that. But I understand if you're closer to the business district, it's more of a free-for-all. And the dilemma there is that Cincinnati owns the west side of Bramble, and we're only the east side of Bramble. So I'm sure that that's challenging. But we have made significant efforts, made generous offers, and space that's vacant.
Yeah, I hear stuff.
Yeah. So
not only us, other private businesses in the neighborhood have also pursued the same things that we have, and also been turned down. And so there's a lot of effort going on. I know that it's not helping you at all. There's a lot of effort. We understand this is a problem. I live near you, and I can't park when I drive over there as well. So I completely get it.
And may I ask, have you applied for a handicap parking space through Columbia Township?
No, we have not. My husband was just approved for disability,
So let's start that process. Why don't, did you put your name and phone, your name, I wrote your name down, but your phone number on the...
I did.
Okay, I'll follow up with you tomorrow.
Okay.
And we can talk about, we have certain eligibility, but I'll walk through those with you and see if that's an option for him.
Okay, so if I have questions about that, I can answer that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We can look at that as an option for him, for a designated parking spot, designated handicap parking spot. And then we will ask our traffic engineer, as David said, to reopen that conversation. We've had conversations with a developer or two about the opportunity to build a low-rise parking structure, like a parking garage, with first floor retail, and then maybe second and third floor parking. And then that's a go-to parking structure. And we would just have to find the right project and developer to do that project. And then we would need neighborhood support because it would be more than just a couple of stories high. It would not be a tall parking deck, but it would be, potentially 3 stories, because if you had retail on the first floor and then parking on the second and third, we can't go below ground because of the water table. So, and that's an option too for a property that could be redeveloped.
It's just sad, I've lived in this neighborhood my whole entire life. And even when people were living in that apartment building where it's the medical facility, everyone still seemed to find a place to park. Now that those lots have been designated just for those, it's just difficult.
And just to be clear, we don't designate, those are privately owned properties, so we don't really have the authority to designate any of them.
Well, they rent them out or something. You have to have a sticker or something.
But, right, but we have no control over that.
Right.
That said, let's move on, and I appreciate your comments, and thank you for coming and making us aware.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
All right.
Tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
We move on to reports.
Oh, wait,
Others.
I have a couple others.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
All right, but we're staying in open forum.
Okay, so I have a couple of emails, and the first one is from Linnea Lose, and I think this is also on Nextdoor, because it's quite lengthy. She gives a lot of great detail, so I'm just going to give the highlights. She wants to thank Golf Manor, Deer Park, Silverton for Ridgewood's continued fire EMS coverage that started on March 1st. And when she sent this, that was tomorrow, Tuesday, March 1st. The change is a result of a complex 3-year study spearheaded by Columbia Township to assure long-term financial and operational stability of fire and EMS services for all 9 islands of Columbia Township. So she wants to specifically thank Golf Manor, Columbia Township, retired and current administrator and trustees, Deer Park, Silverton Joint Fire District, Little Miami Joint Fire District. The Little Miami Joint Fire District's integrity was evident in seeking mediation support from the Ohio Supreme Court to assure fairness to all entities. So she just wanted to say thank you. And this is all, I'm pretty sure, on Nextdoor if you want to read the whole thing.
And thank you, Linnea.
Thank you,
We
Linnea.
love the fact that you have total engagement in the community, so appreciate
Yes,
it.
she gets it. Then we have an email from Les Hemingway, and he was able to see our January meeting and notice that his email was mentioned, and he said, first and foremost, the Columbia Township road crew did a fantastic job on the roads in the township. He noticed they were salting and plowing several times a day, even in the early morning, to get the roads cleared off, which is an outstanding achievement considering the weather conditions were very bad with this ice event. Other communities, including the city of Cincinnati, side roads, as of today, Wednesday, February 9th, are still a mess. Les also has is working with Melissa, I believe, on some great ideas for roads and other things in the township. So thank you, Les.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, Les. Thanks for your community involvement and engagement. Okay, with that, we move on. It's back to you again, Caroline, with the fiscal office report. Ms. Heek, the star of the show today.
So February is the midpoint of the first quarter of our budget year. Our general fund ending balance is $3,099,446, which is a decrease of 2% from January. Restricted funds total $5,002,331, which is a decrease of 4% from January. These funds combined total $8,101,777, which is a decrease of 2% from January. Revenues for February were $32,737. Expenses were $289,415. Year-to-date revenues are $348,436. Expenses are $759,368. Our next semi-annual settlement of property tax revenues from the auditor will occur in April. And our voter-approved levy revenues do not fully cover the cost of the township's public services. Our JEDZ business revenues supplement the cost of services that exceed our property tax revenues. Thanks again to Columbia Township's success in attracting and supporting our businesses, we are able to continue to provide residents with exceptional services at a lower cost, which were very apparent during the snowstorm.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions?
Very good.
Okay, that we move on to the road superintendent's report. Mr. Frazier's report. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
I just have one brief comment. For the month of February, speaking of the weather, the crews were called out for 7 weather events in February. And for the snow and ice events, we used 100 tons of road salt already, and we have backup storage through a shared facility agreement with Sims, and so we have refilled our salt storage with 180 tons of salt. So once the crews are through with salt, with events that require salt, we have to make runs to go and bring new salt into this garage to be ready for the next one. So that the move in February, the crew moved close to 300 tons of salt. So I thought that was pretty remarkable. It's a lot of salt.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're done for the year. Hopefully, knock on Formica.
It's not May
we're done
yet.
for the year.
Were you going to mention the February 24th? That's when the emergency. Well, I'll mention it. On February 24th,
What's it?
we had ice on that day, and there was black ice.
Yes.
And
yes.
the reason I wanted to mention it is that our crew got up really early, and our roads were completely fine. And it was a disaster countywide because when you woke up and went to work, it was warm and it looked nice and the roads looked clear, but there was black ice, and it caused a lot of mayhem in the county. And I wanted to mention it because, well, in addition to how you want to mention it, but our neighborhood was clean in Madison Place, but there was a huge accident on Plainville and Indian Hill Road that took out a car went into someone's porch and took out, I think, a fire hydrant. I think it did. And that was just a credit to our crew. Sometimes that we're so good that you don't even notice that other areas have huge challenges like that. And we've joked around about it before, that people think they can make it to work on time because their roads are so clear, but they end up they can't because none of the other ones are clear. I don't know if we appreciate it enough, the job our road crew does.
They are the best. I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a crazy day.
Yeah.
We actually assisted other agencies because they could not get to
That's right.
Their roads because so many roads were iced. Traffic was completely at a standstill on most of the interstates and the overpasses, and other crews couldn't get to their roads. And Ohio law provides that we're allowed to provide services on roads of other jurisdictions in emergencies.
Yeah, I think that last
Yeah.
ice storm,
They
snow.
helped out a lot with some of the other areas that we needed help getting to accidents on that particular day. In fact, there were like 5 of them on I-71 that the crews came out and helped us out with.
I think that was one of the most challenging ice/snow events that I've ever seen as long as I've been here. So those guys were around the clock. So kudos to them as always. They rise to the occasion. That we move on to the administrator's report with the wonderful Ms. Taylor.
So we open with a thank you to staff, continuing the conversation. Our crews have continued their 24/7 work, originally with Winter Storm Landon, which we spoke about the last meeting, but also since then multiple storms. And on the brighter side, they began clearing our gateway planting beds and our plant pots to be ready for our annual arrival of flowers, which I know that Trustee Hughes loves to hear. And I know that you will, at some point in your trustee reports, talk about our upcoming this Saturday, St. Patrick's Day block party. This Saturday, the 12th, from 5 to 9 at the Madison Place Firehouse. And we have cards that went in, were sent in the mail, I think, late last week, early this week. And they look like that. I've shared that with you before, but I'll leave that to you in your trustee reports. That's going to be an amazing event. On our NED, Neighborhood Economic Development, the $500,000 investment the trustees are making with our medical marijuana funds in neighborhood beautification using our first year medical marijuana check. We have the street tree and the designer street sign, separate programs. This past month we hired Jerry Frankenhoff who is a certified arborist and nationally certified tree risk assessment. Well, he hit the ground running with his 40 years of experience. He has already completed for the street tree assessment all neighborhoods, and he, except for Madison Place, he is currently in Madison Place, so we have some people who are seeing him out and about. And so we sent, in anticipation of that, knowing that he would be out and about, we sent a special edition of The Voice with our theme dog, Ned. What is Ned bringing to your neighborhood soon? Look inside to find out. And it basically was, if your neighborhood voted for street signs, here are the details on the rollout of the street sign program. If your neighborhood voted for street trees, here's the rollout of that program. And then, hello, here's Jerry. And so Jerry will assist us in evaluating what trees need to be removed, where he suggests that new trees could be planted, and then once we have a recommendation list, we're going to have a series, as I've shared before, a series of town halls with the neighborhoods that are interested, and each individual property owner can have a one-on-one conversation with Jerry and with Dustin, who's also a certified arborist, and make a final decision about what goes where. And on the designer street signs, we received the proposal for the designer street signs yesterday. It was too late for me to add to the agenda, so I'll have to bring it next month. But we're moving forward on both fronts, and we should be seeing some activity soon in all of our neighborhoods for that program, and so I can share those if you guys would like. A couple of road projects. I've mentioned before Buckingham and Cambridge. We're going to reconstruct both of those roads. We talked about them in detail when we did the bid for Ford development. We held a pre-con with the developer February 23rd, and the project is going to be, if the weather cooperates, 5 months to reconstruct both Cambridge.
Oh my.
I know, both Cambridge and Buckingham. And the contractor plans to mobilize the middle of this month, and then we'll construct through the end of July, as I said, weather dependent. The water main will be installed first, which Greater Cincinnati Waterworks is paying for, and there will be a few points during each road construction project where there will be parking restricted on one side. There'll be a couple of points where it will be restricted on both, mainly for like heavy equipment delivery. To try to address specifically the concern about heavy parking on Cambridge, we coordinated with the developer to use the firehouse, the Madison Place firehouse space, to park for their crews to park and then walk over to the Cambridge site instead of parking on Cambridge or in the vicinity of Cambridge, except for when we have events and until the construction starts on the firehouse. So we are taking steps to try to address that.
Is Buckingham first? Do you know?
I believe there's starting
okay,
Cambridge and then moving to Buckingham, or they're starting, Buckingham moving to Cambridge. So they'll mobilize and then within a couple of weeks move, and then the next team will come in and keep moving. I just had that in front of me and I don't remember.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. We will do another In the Loop, which is the email communication that we started. We have an In the Loop Buckingham and In the Loop Cambridge, and we will do updates this week on the information that I just provided. Update on Walton Creek North. We have a proposed project for improving the traffic backup in this area, which you know is a major thoroughfare between I-71 and US 50. It comes through Kenwood, Sycamore, Madeira, Montgomery, Indian Hill, and the peak drive backups sometimes block access to our Pear, Elm, Orchard neighborhood, as well as our Walton Creek Village on much more close neighborhoods. So we're working to improve that and also to add sidewalks for connectivity. I wanted to share that I've shared before that the improvement project is going to be about a couple of $100,000, and we're in the process to raise funds for that project. We have about $120,000 so far, we applied to the first ever funding round from SORTA, who in 2020 passed the new sales tax for the region for projects that help with regional flow and also connectivity to bus stops and key commercial corridors. They presented us with a really nice commemorative plate, which has an easel, a wooden easel, that we are part of the inaugural Transit Infrastructure Fund recipient group. So really, really nice, and so we'll put that up. So I wanted to share that with you.
That's cool.
Yeah, really neat. There's the piece that goes with it. I'll put that away. So on today's agenda, we actually have a request for you to authorize the design for that project, as well as the 2 segments of the sidewalks for that. Under safety studies, a quick update that the Plainville Road new pedestrian crosswalk is open. And we already had reduced the speed in that corridor to 25 miles an hour. So those were the 2 aspects of the Plainville pedestrian safety improvement project. So as of this month, that will be closed. And on our Columbia-wide targeted speed study and stop sign study, I've spoken at almost every meeting in detail. So this time I will leave it that that study was actually complete. And then you recall last month we had a representative from Ridgewood who shared concerns with us. Ridgewood, several streets in Ridgewood were already part of the study, and what we did is we decided to move forward with part of the recommendations of the study while the engineering company does additional study for all of the roads and intersections that were identified for Ridgewood. And then we already have started collecting feedback from the Ridgewood neighborhood as part of that. So instead of holding the entire study another several months, I elected to bring forward, and I've talked to each of you about, let's go ahead and move forward with the first recommendation, which is radar speed signs on the roads that were identified in the study as meriting those. So I have that later in the study. And that is all that I have.
Okay. Any questions about the administrator's report?
Nope.
Okay. We move on to the Economic Development Quarterly Report by Mr. Montgomery. Do we have any questions or anything you want to highlight?
He'll be here in April. His next report is April.
Okay. All right. And that we move on to the police report with Lieutenant Neighbor.
Good evening again, everybody. Very little things to report for last month. Some of the similar things about...
No news is good news when it comes to the police.
This is very, very true. Just a reminder, keep locking your doors and keeping your cars off when you're not in them. I just have one thing basically to bring up. The Drug Enforcement Administration is going to have their national take back of prescription drugs again, and we're going to be doing that at the in the village of Silverton at our police station there on Saturday, April 30th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you have any additional prescription drugs that are out there in your cabinets that are expired, old, or not even being used anymore, we're more than welcome to take all that back, and hopefully we'll have some participation.
Not allowed to flush them down our toilet?
No, that's actually bad for the environment.
Okay.
My daughter is an environmental studies guru, and she tells me how bad it really is for it pollutes the water quite bad. It's very hard to treat.
It puts
setting him up.
It puts chemicals in the water.
Okay. All right. Next we move on to the Little Miami Fire and Rescue Fire District Report with Mr. Lamar.
You want to, I'll talk about...
And also Deer Park Silverton.
At Deer Park Silverton.
Yeah.
March 1st at 6 a.m. is when the Gulf Manor station officially closed its doors. I went the night before just to check in, to say hi, and they seemed surprised that I was there. It was business as usual to the last minute. But it was good to see them, and I know that's a historic station. It's sad to see it go. But the transition itself, I talked to Chief Meader, completely seamless. They're such a professional crew. I talked to him about an hour ago. They've had about 11 runs in the 8 days total to that Ridge Fire District. Almost all of them but one were to the Ridge and Highland Business District, which is where most of those runs are. One on Los Santoville and Ridgewood for a sick person, and so everything's business as usual. I haven't heard anything, so I would expect this to be a very seamless transition to the Deer Park Silverton crew, who are, they've worked with us for a long time. And then it's nice to have Chief Sifke here, Chief of the Little Miami Fire Department, who now he's no longer new. He's been here a couple months. So just wanted to introduce you. Thanks for coming. I know you just kind of stopped by. You weren't planning on speaking, but if you wanted to say hi, that'd be great.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I did stop in just out of the blue, just to introduce myself to the board members that I haven't met before, and as well. So I want to put a face to our department, since I am new to the community, and I've been really excuse me, working for the past couple of months. The first month was trying to get acclimated, but continue to work hard and hopefully answer any of your questions as they come about.
All right, it'll take you about 2 years and we'll remove the rookie title from her. We still call her rookie.
No, Ricky.
After Mike Lemon being here for 19 years, she's still a rookie. And she said, I've been here for 3 years.
My third year.
Yeah. All right. So welcome aboard. We look forward to having you.
Trustee Lamar and I were on the search, we're part of the search and interview group for Chief Sifke, and we are very fortunate to have him. He is going to change the way we do business with fire services in that district.
We love great team members.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just add that it was an unreal experience as a newer trustee that I was interviewing for a fire chief. I'm like, it seemed a little, but it was an important role, and so happy to have him. He's such a good guy, knows what he's doing, and he will be such an amazing addition to the fire department.
Yeah, the business side, the fire side,
Yeah.
and the community side. Trifecta.
Right. Okay, and next we move on to, were you done with the Little Miami?
Yes.
Okay, next we move on to trustees' reports. Anything to report? You're good.
I was just going to mention our St. Patrick's Day, which after yesterday's podcast, I think we all know it is Saturday, March 12th. We had to do a couple retakes on the podcast yesterday.
And to be clear, Melissa messed it up. I got it right, which is unusual. So I wanted to.
The St. Patrick's Day party is not on St. Patrick's Day. It is this Saturday, if you're watching live. Saturday, March 12th, 5 to 9 at the Murray Avenue, Madison Place Firehouse. There will be barbecue. There will be a band, some cloggers. There will be, maybe most importantly, according to the weather, there will be a heated tent.
Yes.
And so come rain or shine, come get some barbecue. Come early because these things tend to get big crowds, and sometimes we run out of food as it gets later in the evening. So I would try to get there earlier.
We have free food to the first
Yeah.
200 people. Free barbecue,
Yes.
and then $2 beer.
Yep.
And then Irish desserts.
Yes, I have to make one correction. They're not cloggers. They're Irish dancers.
Dancers.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Can we redo? Thank
Yes,
you.
you're
This is
welcome.
live.
And we'll have-
Sorry.
It's kind of a big deal.
And we'll also have bagpipes as well. So it's
Yeah.
a fun event, and we're glad to have it come back again this year. So it's great.
Yeah, we
And a
haven't
lot of
had it
hard-
in 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah. And a lot of hard work goes into it for all our staff, Caroline, Melissa,
Lauren, Kim,
Dustin and
Dustin,
his crew,
everyone.
Susan, Brian, so kudos to you, and I haven't done much of anything, so.
You have,
Kudos
but-
to all you guys for all this, seriously. So, it takes a lot of people to put it on, so it's a tremendous event. We hope everybody comes out and supports it, so.
Especially if you're in Ridgewood or in a neighborhood that's not very close, I want to see you there. We'll be there. I'll be there all night, and I know it's a little bit of a haul, but it's free barbecue.
Well, and no matter the weather, as you said,
Heated
the
tent.
band and the DJ, we're going to have music and lights and such at all times will be in the firehouse. The firehouse has phenomenal heaters, and they will have both firehouse garage doors open, and then attached to that, we have a full tent that is also heated. And then we have the street. So you have any combination of hot or cold that you will want, and any combination of food, drink, and kids. Lauren's going to have a kids' corner. So it's a family event. No excuses for the weather. We have thought of everything.
I like it.
Oh, let's knock on wood.
And the heated tent was Mr. Kubicki's idea, so he
good.
says it's all us, but
And-
he's,
And thanks to our sponsors, Columbia Township, which is us, and 50 West.
50
They always
West.
come through for us
Yes.
as well, so thank
Yeah.
you. All right, that, we move on to communications. Any questions about any of the communications? You can certainly plug our podcast, Brian, go.
Yeah, podcast. Bobby Slattery, who is the
Always a great guest.
he's awesome. He is the owner.
Mr. Optimistic.
Yep, he's the owner of
Optimistic Bobby, I should
50
say.
West, and been involved in the community for over a decade with that location, and it just keeps expanding and being better and better. And he was an awesome guest. Really engaging, talked about his history, why he wanted to do what he's doing there, and kind of the future of it. And he's really a part of the community. I mean, Melissa calls it our backyard and our playground because we don't have a lot of park space, right? But they've really created a lot of that, and we have a new, more permanent stage opening up and some permanent bathrooms right along the Little Miami bike trail. And so some new fun stuff. They keep investing in the community.
Yeah, and again, not only do they have great beer, great burgers, but they're so vested, and when they get engaged in the community, they don't just write checks or send food, they actually come and participate, which is a real blessing. So they're great corporate sponsors. And
I think Bobby will be there Saturday, right?
He should be there Saturday as well, yes, so all good. Okay, that, and we move on to resolutions, and this is when I hand it off to Melissa, because most of the time she's right.
I'll have to get better at comebacks. But he's the master. All right, we have four resolutions, and I'm actually going to read them. We have numbered them, and so I'm going to read them in that order, which is a little bit different than what it is on the agenda.
Okay.
So, starting with, this is the speed study that I mentioned earlier. This is a resolution asking for the trustee to approve purchasing the radar speed signs for the first installment from the township-wide targeted speed and stop sign study. It is authorizing the administrator to accept a proposal and to purchase radar speed signs from Cleam Incorporated and dispensing with the second reading. We were able to source the radar speed signs. They're solar-powered radar speed signs. They do not require any electricity. Fortunately, without a material delay. However, the installers are backlogged for months. So our crews are going to install these signs because they know how to do so many things.
Of course they are.
And so we're going to be able to, as soon as we take delivery, we're going to be able to have the signs installed very quickly. So the total amount of we solicited several proposals, and the lowest and best went to Cleam, and that is in the amount of $26,728, and the detailed proposal for the signs is attached, and we will make sure before we do an install in any new locations that the engineer who did the study is going to work with our Dustin Frazier, our road superintendent, to recommend based on utility location and sight distance on a road, whether there's a curve or a hill or some other conflict, make recommended install locations, primary and alternative. And then if the primary involves any residential property or business property, we will have that conversation with the residents about whether there's flexibility or not for that sign location. So it's very important overall to the township safety, but we wanted to make sure, and I know this is very important, something that's very important to you as well, David. So we're going to be, I don't have a schedule yet for the delivery, we're waiting to hear back from them on when that will be. Do I have any questions?
I just have a comment. The number one complaint I hear from residents is speed, and so this is a big step to reducing. I hear it in every neighborhood. I'm sure you all do too, and this is a huge step, so thank you.
So one of the things that's interesting about the study, when the study is final, it's in draft now, as I mentioned earlier, we'll release it, but the majority of the dynamic is that so many people have been working remotely or not working, and that now that people are going back to work and people are out and about, the sense of the speeding is greater. But the study actually identified, other than a handful of roads that are cut-throughs, that the speeds are not excessive. But on the cut-through roads, the speeds were higher. So, any other questions? Okay, so this is a dispensing with the second reading. So I have read the title. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes. May I have a motion and a second to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes. Thank you. The resolution is passed.
Thank you.
The next resolution, 2211, relates to amending a tax increment financing district on Wooster Lane. A resolution amending Resolution 1801, 2018, to include additional public infrastructure improvements for an existing tax increment financing exemption granted pursuant to Section 5709.73 of the Ohio Revised Code in Columbia Township, Ohio. This is actually a first reading only. There'll be no vote, but short background on this. In 2018, under the prior administration, when Panera was planning to move forward with the development of the former plant shop property on Wooster Pike, 7510 Wooster, and then the adjacent parcel, which is still vacant, 7528 Wooster, you put into place a tax increment financing district to assist, because there are certain utilities in that area that have not been extended, and that helped facilitate the Panera. The original TIF was set up under a limited public infrastructure uses language. It was contemplated at the time that when the second parcel would be developed, there likely would need to be additional infrastructure to help facilitate business development to that parcel. What I am proposing to do is that we expand the language to the full menu that the state law allows for tax increment financing, all public infrastructure uses, and then the trustees have a menu that they can choose from as this TIF, which is a very small TIF, as this TIF begins to have funds accumulate in it. What it is this year will be the first full year that we will have TIF money in it. I want to give the trustees the flexibility to choose what the township's priority is that time. So an example of some additional language to the TIF would be, it can be spent on road improvement projects, it can be spent on trails and paths, it can be spent on parks. So it can only be spent on public infrastructure, but it broadens that definition from the utilities, water, sewer, that were contemplated in the 2018 TIF. It gives you, instead of a fixed menu of a couple of items, it gives you the full, almost TGI Fridays menu, a page or two of options, and then you can decide the priority when we bring forward needs for that TIF. And so this is a first reading only. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those, and then we'll put that aside until next month.
Okay.
No questions? Okay. No. Next resolution, 2212. This is a resolution that will authorize me to move forward for the design of the Walton Creek Road improvement that I mentioned earlier in our meeting. Authorizing an agreement for engineering design of Walton Creek Road, turn lane and sidewalk. Authorizing the administrator to enter into an agreement with TEC Engineering and dispensing with the second reading. So this proposal has two components. One, TEC, which is one of our engineers of record, will design the plan for the Walton Creek improvement in cooperation with ODOT and Hamilton County Engineer, because we all have right-of-way in that stretch that begins at US 50 and continues north. And so the road project will be designed between US 50 and Orchard, and the sidewalk will be designed from US 50 to Orchard, and then, although there's not a road improvement project north of Orchard, TEC will additionally do the survey and design for a future sidewalk extension all the way to much more. And there's some complications there because we have a creek and a head wall and limited right-of-way, and there's a lot of difficulty in that area because of how old Walton Creek is, the original Plainville area. There is road right-of-way that dates back over 100 years old, and there are conflicting right-of-way lines between property owners on the west, property owner on the east, the apartment boutique apartment complex that's going to be construction started later this month, and also the county engineer and then our roads in a couple of the neighborhoods. And so we have to work through a survey and through legal process, sorting out everyone's right-of-way so we can then move forward with that second phase. So it's more complicated design because it includes that survey for that second phase. And so the total proposal is $68,522. And our intent is that we would design the road and the first segment of the sidewalk, and then we would go out to bid. I'll bring that back to you and construct this road project actually in this season. And then while we begin construction of the southbound turn lane and the first segment of sidewalk, he will go back and then do survey and design of the other. And concrete prices, I'm sure that you know this, concrete prices, we are probably going to exceed the original estimate for the road project because of the concrete for the sidewalk. So I'm out knocking on more doors looking for more grants for that, which is going to be harder, but
A road crew could just do it.
I wonder if they have, you know, they
probably
do a
could.
lot of things.
I'm
Send them
joking.
to sidewalk installation school. That's a thought. That is a thought. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So this is a vote for dispensing with the second reading. So I have read the title. May I have a motion and a second to dispense with the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Roll.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second
So
to
moved.
pass the resolution?
Yes. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Final resolution. First, it's a supplemental appropriation resolution, so it is one reading only. We did not bring forward a supplemental resolution in either of the January or February meetings because we, as Caroline knows, we're still having fun with closing out the budget. We have the first quarter of each year to close out the prior year and open the new year, which is a long, detailed process with the county. So we have held all of the supplemental appropriations, and so it's quite a long list, but just as a reminder, supplemental appropriations are, you approve a budget in July of each year, but in order to spend the money from that budget, we come back to you to authorize us to spend the money. So the budget's the first step, and then authorizing the expenditure of the money in the budget. And then occasionally, if you decide on new programs that are not in the budget, this authorizes that funding to go in there as well. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will share, for example, for Cambridge and Buckingham, you're talking about a total project cost of $1.3 million, and we will receive OPWC funds, grants, and loans. So we pass supplemental appropriations acknowledging that we're going to receive money, and then we pass that we're going to spend it. So a lot of this is money in, money out. So, do you have any questions?
No.
On it? So, first reading only. I've read the title of the resolution. May I have a motion and a second to pass the
So moved.
resolution?
Second.
Roll call.
Hang on, you threw me. Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Is that all we do?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, I make a motion to approve the payments, bills, bank reconciliation, and financial reports. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
I make a
Yes.
motion to sign the minutes and resolutions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
And I make a motion, we adjourn. Do I hear a
Second.
second? Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
We have 3 resolutions that
To
we require
sign.
signature on, so
Yes.
please stay and
Yes.
sign those.
Here's the first.
I have a comment.